Hello everyone, my name is Starshield Lordy and I'm completing a master's degree in education in instructional design and technology with a concentration in distance learning at UWF. I completed my master's degree in English at Middle Tennessee State University in 2016 and have been teaching freshman composition at the college level for about 8 years. During my time in the IDT program, I was challenged, as so many of us have been, with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on higher education. Toward the end of fall semester 2022, I was offered a full-time position in clinical research at Emory and decided to accept it. I forged ahead with my career change and with this program, knowing that the education and skills I have and am continuing to gather will serve me no matter where I am. My client for this project is the Emory Healthy Brain Study. The study is a longitudinal observational study focused on identifying biomarkers to predict Alzheimer's disease. The study is one of many clinical research studies at the Emory Brain Health Center and is under the umbrella of the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, or the ADRC. Research visits include informed consents, cognitive testing, and an MRI, fasting blood work, and a cardio exam, and a lumbar puncture. Participants are asked to complete their study visits once every 2 years for as long as they are willing to be in the study. The study team noticed an increase in visit cancellations and rescheduling over the last 6 months of 2022. An increase from previous years, study leadership was interested in learning the reasons for the increase along with other trends in visit scheduling. The goals for this project were to gather and analyze visit cancellation and rescheduling data over a 6-month period, June 2022 to December 2022, identify gaps in the scheduling process, and recommend a new workflow that would address and alleviate scheduling concerns. To start this process, I contacted my direct boss, Chloe, and the director of special projects, Kate, regarding this Capstone project and with some ideas. Kate identified this project as a need that was currently affecting the study and required attention. She directed me to meet with Chloe to discuss the parameters of the project and to get clarity about where to begin. I created a list of questions and ideas I had about the project and discussed them with Chloe at our meeting. Chloe directed me to David, one of the research coordinators who had recently been tasked with gathering the data I required for this project. After meeting with Chloe, I scheduled a meeting with David. David and I discussed what he was doing, and he showed me the spreadsheet he was working on and how he was gathering the data. I was shocked to learn that there was no way to pull any type of reports about scheduling for EHBS. Visit scheduling is done in the Bookings app and the team's shared Outlook calendar. Reports are not available to the team via either of these programs, and once a visit is deleted from the calendar or moved to a different day, there is no way to track the visit. David informed me the only way to track this data was to use the information posted in the team's visit cancellation and reschedules channel. The only way to gather the data we required was to look at each individual post in the channel and use that information to create a spreadsheet. Thus, my first identified gap in the process was reporting. The team requires an accurate and efficient way to track and report on study visits for analysis. David shared his spreadsheet with me, and I decided to save the month of December that he had completed and create my own spreadsheet for my work so I could gather, organize, and analyze the data in ways I required. I realized the data gathering was going to take longer than I had anticipated and decided to keep a Capstone project log with daily notes, questions, things I learned along the way, so I would have a reference of the work I was doing and a place I could check in with myself and my progress and ideas. Because data gathering required I manually capture and create data, and scrolling backwards through the Teams channel was making my eyes go crazy, I decided to copy and paste all of the information I required from the Teams channel into a Word document. Once I had all the information from the Teams channel into my Word document, I spent time going through the posts and deleted any information that wasn't relevant to the data I required. I then spent time going through the entries one at a time, researching, identifying participant information and visit information that would allow me to track the visit data. Because the team does not use participant names in open conversations due to privacy laws, I focused on two main identifiers, EHBS numbers and GUID numbers. An EHBS number is an internal study number that references the count of consented participants into the study. The GUID number is a number that is assigned by the data analysis software Salesforce that is used across Emory. It is a unique number that identifies the participant in Salesforce. Big challenge. There was no place that I was able to reference the EHBS number and the GUID numbers together. Since most of the posts in the Teams channel included only an EHBS number for reference, this required extra research to track down the participant's name and GUID number for further research of visit data. In one of my progress meetings with my boss, I was able to get her to print me a report from a software I didn't have access to that included the EHBS and GUID numbers and the participant name, which sped up my process considerably. Another big challenge is that many of the posts in the Teams channel included inconsistent and unclear information, or inconsistent or unclear identifying information, such as missing GUID numbers, shifting EHBS numbers, or unclear visit date references. How I mitigated this was I learned quickly how to search on unclear items if I had enough of a reference point. Many times I could search on the date of a rescheduled visit to narrow down the participant information or research the participant contact in Salesforce, but there were some that were simply unable to be traced down. Once I got through all of the data and was able to integrate it into the work David had completed before I took the project over, we were in mid-February 2023. Thus, I decided to include January 2023 in the data set as an opportunity to see if it presented any particular changes in the visit scheduling trends. I ended up with a large data set, 337 visits total, 290 visits that were trackable and were included in the data analysis, and 47 visits that were untraceable or had unreliable information and were not included in the analysis. The data gathering process clarified two additional gaps that needed to be addressed: team communication and documentation. Because the information posted to the team's cancellation and rescheduled channel is inconsistent and at times unclear, EHBS requires clear communication between team members via the Teams channel that provides necessary information to manage changes in visit scheduling. Additionally, because documentation of visit information and contact with participants is inconsistent and often unclear, EHBS requires a clear strategy for documenting study visit data. Current documentation is inconsistent and unclear, impacting the ability to reliably gather, research, and analyze visit data. I knew this third gap was going to be the main focus of my workflow recommendation, as it would address at least two of the three identified gaps. The data gathering was the longest and most tedious part of this project, and I'm glad I stuck with it. The process clarified an acute need the study has to clarify the metrics it is looking for. Once I had all of the data from the Word document entered into the spreadsheet, I was ready to move on to analysis. For this, I kept it simple. Since I had an Excel document already working, I added tabs and copied the raw data to each tab to organize and sort the information. As I moved through this part of the process, I continued to think of different ways to analyze the data and would add another tab to the spreadsheet when I needed to. As I copied and sorted the data, I found data entry errors I had made, and particularly around dates, and had to fix those errors in the raw data and then recopy the information into the tab I was working on and keep going forward. From there, I learned how to create charts from the data, something I had never done in Excel before. I broke down the data into 15 categories, including the main one the client wanted, which was cancellation reason. Unfortunately, as you can see by the chart, the primary cancellation reason is no reason because no reason for the cancellation was documented. Other analysis categories included cancellation date versus original visit date, visit year and visit type, month by cancellation date, and 4 different reports on day of week. Throughout this process, I maintained communication with my client with bi-weekly progress reports and the standard scheduled bi-weekly one-on-one meetings with my boss, Chloe, which are a feature of my regular employment. After my second progress report, my boss went through the list of questions I presented in my report and answered them during our one-on-one meeting. My ideas about workflows progressed as I continued on the data gathering and analysis, and I kept track of those ideas in my Capstone log. I also came to a point where I had some questions about how Salesforce works and what options the IT department might have to assist us with the reports, so I scheduled a meeting with Patek, our head of IT. She kindly listened to what I was doing and showed me that the capability to create reports we are looking for is available, but the team isn't using the options in Salesforce to be able to run those reports. She created a sample report for me to show me that the possibility is there. I also had an impromptu meeting with our main study recruiter, Jenny, and asked her feedback on some of my ideas. At first, she was skeptical and pointed out several reasons it may not work. But the more we talked and I showed her my idea in action, she left the meeting saying, "Starshield, you're a genius. So simple. I don't know why we aren't already doing that." That conversation gave me a little confidence boost that I was on the right track and to keep working towards the end of this project. The main challenge I faced during this project was working with my direct boss. I started this job in December 2022, and from the get-go, she seemed somewhat disengaged from my work and from this project. Though she did meet with me and talk to me about certain aspects, for the most part, she was distant and non-communicative. Kate, the Special Projects Director, on the other hand, is very approachable. I quickly learned to connect with her if I had a question I required an answer to in a particular time frame. On March 17th, Chloe made the announcement that she accepted a new job at a different organization and would be leaving the study on March 31st. I was slightly surprised at first, but the disengagement suddenly made sense. Since the majority of this project required I work on it by myself, Chloe's departure didn't have a huge impact, but there was some juggling toward the end as the transition from Chloe to my new boss, Najee, has been a little bumpy. Chloe's last day ended up being April 4th, but I had no other contact with her before she left. A few days before I completed this project, I ran into Kate and had a quick conversation about the project and how it was wrapping up. She asked for 2 main things. 1, that I include day of week in my data analysis, and 2, I present the workflow as lucid charts. I went back to my data and added the day of week fairly easily. I had heard of lucid charts, but I honestly didn't really know what it was. I did some research, experimented with the software, and was able to create the workflows in the format Kate was asking for. The final deliverables for this project were presented in 2 parts. A data analysis report with charts and information about the data, and 2 lucid charts, 1 for communication and 1 for documentation. The workflow for reports I decided was unnecessary because that workflow will come directly from the documentation. Analysis of canceled and rescheduled visits for EHBS shows important metrics for the study, such as 80.6% of the 290 analyzed visits were rescheduled, indicating active and continued participation in the study visits. While I was working on this project, the study team has also made strides to better capture identifying information in the team's visits and cancellations channel and communicate the necessary information to track participants' engagement in study visits. Analysis also shows clear gaps in communication, documentation, and tracking of data across visits and scheduling. The study team has grown exponentially in the last year, and the processes have not kept up with that growth. Moving forward, there are potential training and workflow projects for EHBS to streamline scheduling and documentation to create study visit metrics they are seeking. Additionally, the focus for the next phase of this project will likely be on training. A new workflow, once approved, will require retraining team members. A training cap has also been identified in the last week for a consistent training program for new hires for both EHBS and other studies housed under the ADRC. This project has clarified my own goals of extending my knowledge base and skill set, including the use of technology. I learned that I have excellent data analysis and organization skills that will support me long into the future. I have also built a lot of confidence in my own skills as a team member and instructional designer, and I'm excited about the opportunities that I see coming through Emory. That's the end of my presentation. It's hard to find a way to make data analysis exciting, so I hope this was at least somewhat interesting. Thanks for watching. If you want more information about the project or about me, please feel free to contact me at either my email or my phone number listed here.